Good afternoon, everybody, as you join us for our Norland Unwrapped, where we're going to talk about all things admissions. We will start shortly. We're just admitting everybody in, and we will be with you as soon as we can. We'll just give it a couple more minutes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Norland Unwrapped on admissions. We're just admitting people in. It's taking a little while because we've got lots of people joining us this evening. So we'll just give it another minute or so and then we will get going. Seems to have steadied off a bit. Do we think we're about there, Dan and Kate? Have we let everybody in?
I think we'll make a start, Mandy, and then people will join us as we go through anyway.
Lovely. Okay, so as I said, welcome everybody. It's great to have you join us this evening. We've got a whistle-stop tour for you, quite a fast evening of lots of information sharing, most of which you can find on our website. So do have a look at that. There'll be lots of ways that you can reach out and ask us any questions that you've got, which we'll go through a bit later. But we'll try and give you as much information as we can in this quite short space of time. And we do hope that we'll also see you on an open day where we can talk to you in a bit more detail. But we're going to make a start now. So I'm going to hand over to Kate, who's going to do a bit of the housekeeping.
Hi, everybody. Lovely to have you join us for our Unwrap session. If you haven't joined us for a session before, you are very welcome. If you're regular attendees, then welcome back. So it's lovely to have you join us on this very wet and windy evening. So as normally, we go through just some brief housekeeping updates. So just remember, this session is actually going to be recorded. So if you have to nip off somewhere, that's absolutely fine. The recording will get sent out to you afterwards. Please be aware, obviously, your camera, as always, is off and we have muted your microphone, so we can't hear you or see you, but you can hear us. Obviously, this is a Q&A session, so we're hoping to have a bit of time at the end of this presentation. There's a lot of information on this presentation, but if you do have questions, please do feel free to go into the Zoom box and ask those questions. I will stress, if you have specific questions about a course that you want to do, whether it carries UCAS points or whether we accept that course, if I can ask you to contact admissions separately, and then they can take some time and get back to you with the appropriate answer. It's just the easier way of dealing with those queries. As I said, you can ask those Q&A questions at the bottom of the Zoom screen. And as I said, with all Norland Unwrapped sessions, they are designed to fill that gap between our virtual events and our physical events. And obviously, our open day is coming up quite quickly, actually. So I'll talk to you about that at the end of the presentation. So a really warm welcome. I know that we've got people joining us from all over the world, so you are very welcome to join us this evening. And I'm going to pass you back to Mandy to start the talk.
Thank you, Kate. So this is who I am. I'm Mandy Edmond. I'm Vice Principal at Norland, and I'm also Head of Quality and Standards and the Registrar. And what that means is that I am involved in all different aspects of Norland, and part of what I do is look after admissions. So I'm one of the people that will talk to you about help you make the decision, will help Norland make decisions about who is going to come to Norland. I also look after student support and the quality team and various other little teams. You'll meet one of our admissions managers as we go through, but at the moment, for now, I'm just going to pass you over to Hannah.
Hi everyone, I'm Hannah, one of the admissions managers at Norland. I work alongside Rebecca, who you can see on the screen, and together we manage the whole admissions process. I've been at Norland for 10 years. I've worked for 9 years at the Norland agency. So I've been lucky enough to experience firsthand the amazing job opportunities that are available to Norlanders once they've qualified. If you have any queries about admissions, you can call us, email us anytime, and myself and Rebecca would be happy to help.
Sorry, I was getting a bit ahead of myself there, everybody. And sorry, Hannah, to cut
No worries
there, but let's talk to Coral.
Hello everybody, I'm Coral. I'm the Accommodation and Welfare Officer. My role, I have a split role, so half of my role sits within student support team, offering support to students who may be experiencing anxiety, low mood, workload or general life challenges. I also have oversight of the buddy scheme, which you will be informed about more when you join us in well, whenever you join us. And this is where our second and third year students volunteer to support our first year students and plan a variety of social events when you first join to help you mix with the set and that you join and other years as well. And then the other half of my role with accommodation, I work alongside admissions to secure first year student accommodation and support in second and third years if needed. And then I continue to support the first year students with any accommodation issues where necessary.
Thank you, Coral. And you may have just spotted there a little guest star appearance from my cat. I do apologise about that. I've just moved her. She's not involved in this presentation, by the way. So I get to tell you take you through some lovely slides now, all about how wonderful Norland is. Now, I know you're here to mainly talk about admissions, so I will do this quite quickly. But as I said earlier, if you come along to the open day, you will find out much more about all of these things. First thing we'd like to show off a bit about is the fact that we have TEF Gold. So TEF is the way in which all higher education institutions, so universities, colleges, anywhere that teaches a degree, it's the way that they are assessed by the government to acknowledge the quality of the provision that happens. And I'm sure you can imagine and guess that gold is the highest award that you can get. And there are three different categories. There's the student experience category, there's the student outcomes category, so how well students do, and then the overall category. And we are gold providers in all three of those categories. So what that means is we're doing a pretty good job, and that if you come to Norland to study for your degree and your diploma, then you can be assured that you will have a really wonderful student experience and you will get a very good, high quality, rigorous degree and diploma. And as it says on the screen, we're one of only 27 universities, and there are well over, oh gosh, I was going to make a guess then, but I better not. But I know there's well over 100 universities, and we are in the one of only 27 universities and higher education institutions in the country to have TEF Gold, which puts us in the top 12% nationally. And it's the third time we've actually had TEF Gold. So this award is with us for the next 4 years and will be assessed again in 4 years' time, when we hope to maintain that gold award. It is very hard to get a gold award. They look at lots of data. They look at what our students say and think about their experiences with us. They look at how we provide support for students, a whole myriad of things, and in order to assess that rating. So we're very, very proud, as you can probably imagine, as you can see from my background as well. We're very proud that we have TEF Gold. And in fact, if you come along to open day, you'll see that it's plastered everywhere at Norland, all over the windows, the floors, everywhere, because we are very proud of it. And one of the things that contributes to our TEF Gold award is something called the National Student Survey. So this is a survey that, as the title suggests, it goes out to all students. It's all third year students. So it's students in the final year of their degree in any institution in the country. And it is national, so it's all over the country. And the students are asked to set the same set of standard questions, and then universities are then ranked on their responses. And as you can see, we've had outstanding results. We always get very good results, but last year in particular, we had absolutely outstanding results. We're very proud, for example, that 100% of our students think that teaching staff are good at explaining things, which is pretty important if you want to learn something, isn't it? And then 99% agree that they have developed knowledge and skills that they'll need in the future. And that would, again, you would expect that for a course that's as vocational as Norland is. And 100% receive feedback on time, which is really important because that feedback allows you to improve all the time. So you can see we've got some wonderful scores there, and that's something that we're really proud of too. Not only that, but we have these wonderful awards too. So we have been crowned this year the top small and specialist provider in the country in the What Uni Student Choice Awards for the 4th time, and the 7th year in a row when we've been in the top 2, which we're enormously proud. And what makes this even better is that this award is voted for by our students. So students rank their universities on various different aspects, and for us, we came out top in all the small specialist providers in the country. So we're very proud of that. Not only that, but in 2021, we were named the top university in the UK for enhanced graduate outcomes. Now, this was a special award during COVID. They had to amend all the awards because they couldn't collect the data in the usual way. And what's so good about this one is that it was voted for by other students. They had a panel of students from other universities, and they voted our student employment opportunities, graduate employment opportunities, the best in the country. And that's out of all universities. So again, not many courses that you can do in this country that lead to a very secure career, that will help you earn very good money and give you a wonderful career throughout the rest of your life anywhere in the world. But if you come to Open Day, we'll talk more about that. I must keep reminding myself that we're focusing on admissions today. So here's a little bit, very quick snapshot about the degree. So we offer just one degree, and it's the BA in Early Childhood Education and Care. It's a 3-year full-time degree. And it is it's very special because it especially focuses on what it's like to work with children in a home-based setting. It's not exclusively about a home-based setting, but it does prepare you very, very well for becoming a nanny, which is obviously the reason why you want to come to Norland. It draws on multiple different disciplines, and it's very special because it has certain threads that run through each of the 3 years. For example, the supporting children to regulate their behaviour thread, you have modules on that at each of the 3 years, because we recognise that you're probably going to be out there working with children while you're studying. So it's important that we start giving you those skills right from the very start. And you can see there some of the other examples of the modules. The baby years, for example, is a new 2nd year module, which really focuses in on those first 12 months, which is, again, quite unique because most degrees don't really focus in on babies. And yet if you're a nanny, it's quite often you'll find that babies are born in your family while you're working for them. So you get to work with babies right from newborns, which is wonderful. More about all of that on our website and during our Open Day. And then alongside the degree, you'll also be studying for the very unique Norland diploma. So where the degree teaches you everything that you need to know, the diploma teaches you how to put that into practice so that your practice is of the very highest quality and informed by that knowledge that you've learned through that degree. So good high level knowledge, because that's what children deserve, isn't it? They deserve the best. And when you come to Norland, we train you to be the best. So the diploma teaches you all these different things, the professional and care skills. So how to communicate with families, how to work properly in a home environment, but also the practical aspects, such as how to change nappies and how to settle children to sleep, how to recognise if they're not very well and what to do about it. So all those practical aspects that if there are any parents on the call, you'll know that babies don't come with an instruction manual. But when you're being paid to look after children, then you are expected to know this already. So we will make sure you do. You'll also learn about how to play, how to set up play activities that will support children's learning and development. You'll learn about those important transitions in a child's life and how to support them. So, for example, if a new baby joins the family, if there's a divorce or a bereavement in the family, starting nursery, starting school, starting to use a potty instead of having nappy, all those difficult transitions in a child's life, you'll learn how to support them so that they're successful for that child. You will also do food and nutrition and sewing. So if you don't know how to cook, don't worry, because we will teach you, which also has the added benefit of you being able to eat well while you're here and not rely on pot noodles for the whole time that you're studying at Norland. And sewing is really helpful as well. So you'll learn how to make resources, but you'll also learn how to mend clothing. We're in an era now of sustainability where it's very important, where we try to make do and mend rather than just throw things away all the time. So you'll learn all of those skills, hand sewing and machine sewing. We also do lots of employment training. So you've probably seen, if you've ever seen a video about Norland, you've probably seen students on the Castle Combe racetrack on a skid pan, herring around in cars. You will get to do that, but not until the 3rd year. That's part of your employment training right at the end. Just how to control a car and keep your charges safe in all weather conditions. But you'll also do some very other useful things, some other very useful things, such as learning about contracts and pensions, which don't sound very exciting, but believe me, but once you're in work, you need to know about these things to make sure that you're being paid fairly and that your contracts are as they should be. We also do some ARGA training and baby massage and that sort of thing. So there's lots of things, help you with CVs, lots of different employment things that happen throughout your 3 years, but especially at the end of your 3rd year. And then once you've finished your 3rd year and you have completed your degree, you haven't yet finished your diploma, because the diploma goes on for another year. So in the first 3 years, you're studying for the degree and the diploma. And then in the 4th year, you are on the diploma year. And once you complete that year, that's when you get your Norland diploma and become a Norland nanny. And that year involves you going into work. You will go and work in a family for 12 months as a nanny, either live in or live out, and we help you choose. We recruit those families. You don't have to find them yourselves. You'll have lots of families to choose from. You'll be able to decide where you want to live in the country within reason. It's obviously got to be where we have families who will employ you, but you'll earn a really good salary there as well. And there's more information about that on our website and at the open day. But you don't pay fees in that 4th year. So it's your first year of supported employment, where you will have a proper employment contract. It's not a placement, it is a job. But we will be on hand to support you, to visit you, and to make sure that your practice is at the highest level, because again, that's what children deserve, and that's what a Norland nanny provides. So 3 years for your degree and 3 years of paying fees, and then a 4th year where you're earning money but still being assessed and supported before you become a Norland nanny. At that point, I'm going to pause and I'm going to hand over to Hannah, who's going to tell you a bit more about admissions.
Okay, so admissions, how do we help you? We're with you right from the early stages up until enrolment. So during the early stages, we help you with any queries you've got about entry requirements, qualifications, or the application process. Anything, you can email us or call us, and we're always happy to help. We manage the applications via UCAS, and we also coordinate and support with the interview process. Once an offer's been made, we then administer the Norland admission forms, and we respond to queries about uniform, curriculum, equipment lists, any queries that you have before enrolment. We also process the first year DBS applications for you. So we're always available if you have any queries. And now it's over to Anwen, one of our students.
Hi everyone, so my name's Anwen, I'm a 3rd year student, and thank you all for taking the time to join this Norland Unwrapped session of your evening. So I just wanted to say a little bit about my life before Norland. Unfortunately, I actually really struggled academically, leaving school with only 4 GCSEs, and I was really unsure what to do. So this then left me applying for a course that I was interested in, but I knew it wasn't my dream. So I've completed a level 2 in beauty, and it was whilst doing this course that I decided just to go for it and apply for childcare, play, learning and development. It was in this course that everything made sense, and everything that struggled academically before suddenly clicked into place, and I then paired this up with watching a documentary about Norland, and I knew that this was my dream. Mandy, can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. So I think it's really important that you remember to cross-reference your predicted grades, not only to see if it's feasible, but also to see where it can be improved or where you're really excelling, to see if this is feasible. Everything can be found on UCAS to help you. And then when constructing your personal statement, Norland are really great. If you follow them on Instagram, you'll know that they often recruit a lot of students to provide videos of tips. And also just remember that you can consult your tutors or teachers or whatever, but just remember that your passion for childcare and everything that you want to be said about you needs to come through. Just let yourself shine through. You have to remember to look at the deadlines. You don't want to end up it being late and then not having equal consideration, and just remain transparent, because as long as you're you and you're honest and you're truthful and everything, then you'll be absolutely fine. And also utilize the TAP app. This is where you can speak to current students, student ambassadors, and it just means that you get that first-hand knowledge from the students themselves for the moments of when you're like, oh, I don't know this, I don't know that, and you can't find it on the website, or you need a bit of further help understanding it. You can speak to the TAP students, and they will absolutely be there to help you. So I'm now going to hand over to Eve.
Hello everybody, sorry about that, I just had a moment with the IT. Thank you, Anwen, for that. That was really interesting to hear actually about your journey. My journey was a little bit different. I was actually comparatively very academic at school. So I studied A-levels. I stayed at the grammar school that I was at for my GCSEs. So I studied biology, chemistry, maths and theatre studies at A-level. That makes a bit more sense as you see the next bullet point. So I thought that my dream was to study medicine and to be a paediatrician. That was what I thought at sort of 16, 17 I wanted to do. And being at the school that I was at, I was sort of funneled that way. So I applied and started medicine at the University of Southampton in 2020. So obviously during COVID, which was really tricky. During my first term, I got ill. So I then suspended my studies to get better in myself. And my plan originally was to then go back the following September and start again. As I started to get better, I was lucky enough to get a job at a local community nursery as an unqualified worker. And this is where I absolutely fell in love with childcare. And decided that medicine really wasn't for me. I think the news at the time sort of helped that decision as well. And I decided to pursue a career in childcare. Thank you, Mandy. So my experience applying to Norland was a little bit different than someone who's maybe already in education. So for me, I'd already been through the whole UCAS process before, so I kind of knew what I was getting in for. But Norland is different. And I started off by doing all the research I possibly could online. So both through the website, following all the social media, and sort of watching the Unwrapped sessions that were already available. I then signed up to attend open days. So as I was looking during COVID, my first open day was virtual, which was really interesting, but sort of for me, that wasn't enough. So I then went to an in-person open day, which was honestly amazing. And if that's a possibility for you, I highly recommend it. Just speaking to all the students and basically getting really excited. Then I got this advice when I was in your shoes now. So I was told that you can apply as soon as it opens, and Norland will give interview offers from the beginning, and they won't wait to give you an offer because if you're right, you're right. So I decided, seeing as I was able to apply early in September to hopefully go into the first interview day, because I thought that would give me the best chance. So I contacted my sixth form, which I obviously was no longer at, for a reference, as I believe if you're within 3 years of leaving school, that's what Norland would like. So I contacted sixth form for a reference, basically told them, look, I want to get out the way before your current year 13s will be applying, so please just get it ready and I'll send it off as soon as I can. I wrote my personal statement, which I was really lucky to have had lots of support when I wrote my one for medicine at my school. So I would absolutely say take all the help that is offered with personal statement writing, but make sure that it's personal, because Norland just want to hear about you and any experiences that you have. They don't have to be about working with children directly, but just working with the public, working with other people, showing sort of the traits that you have and having them shine through like things that you've done. And then obviously you filled out UCAS, which is really straightforward, just on the website. I sent that off, and then very quickly, I can't remember how soon it was, but I think within 2 weeks I had an offer for an interview, which I was really excited about. And mine was just for the October half term. So I think it was the first day of interviews for my year. I attended the interview, and I must say the night before my interview, I definitely used the student ambassadors. I was messaging them being like, what do I wear? What should I expect? And they were so helpful and really reassuring. And then after my interview, I was really lucky. I heard within a week, and I had a non-conditional offer, but that was because I had my grades already. But yes, and then I'll pass on to Roxanne, who's a second year student.
Thank you, Eve. Hi, I'm Roxanne, and I'm an international student. So a little bit about me is I'm actually from Louisiana, so New Orleans, Louisiana. And before I came to Norland, I was actually living in Austria. So I was studying American Studies and English at the University of Innsbruck, because I was really into literature, and it was just something I knew I liked. And when I started studying that, I actually started nannying, and I realized that it was something that really made me happy, a job I really enjoyed. And when I graduated, I thought to myself, okay, what do I want to do with my degree now? And I ended up nannying again. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep pursuing this. So I was actually searching for an international job as a nanny, and I came across Norland. It was the first time I had heard about it. So I started doing some research and watching the documentaries about it. And I was like, how did I not know this existed till now? So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to try to apply for Norland while searching for jobs, because I thought it's a great investment for me. So I had already graduated at that time, and I had studied psychology before that. So I just knew it's exactly what I wanted to do. And I thought it's a good investment because I know that I want to pursue nannying as a career. And what better than to have a specialized degree in nannying now that I know it exists. So I began applying online. I got in contact with Norland, so emailing. And then after that, I began applying for the bursaries, which we'll talk about later on. But yeah, that's how I got myself into Norland. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Coral now.
Hello, everyone. So Norland provides accommodation for its first year students. So if you've returned your forms and requested accommodation, then we will provide that for you. The accommodation is randomly selected. However, if you have made any requests, then we will try and meet these as best as we can for you. As our accommodation is student housing as opposed to university halls, house sizes really do range from 3 bedrooms to 9-bedroom houses, and the room sizes can vary too. Therefore, you'll need to decide between yourselves who's going to have which room, and the fairest way to do this is drawing straws, unless some of you would particularly prefer to have a larger or smaller room, because that can depend on the price as well. The approximate cost of accommodation for 2025 to 2026 really does vary. So we can get properties for around 550 per room per month, ranging up to £1,000 per calendar month, and that's excluding bills. Norland do try and secure properties in the lower range. However, this is not always possible due to such a high demand of student accommodation in Bath and the increase in rent. Bills are shared, and you will need to decide on a lead tenant. And once your houses are allocated, we will email you who's in your house and the email addresses of each tenant, so you can contact one another and start making plans and getting to know each other. Properties can vary from distance from the college, so some of them are maybe a 5-minute walk up to a 45-minute walk from our main campus at Alfield Park. But those that are further away, we do make sure that they are near a bus stop. Not everyone you live with is going to be best of friends, but this is really the beginning of learning professionalism, patience, which will be key skills which will be needed as a Norland nanny. And student support can help you with any mediation or any general support if you're finding it difficult to settle in, as it is obviously a big change coming here and moving away from home. But we hope that you will treat each other with kindness and respect as you begin the journey together. I will hand over to the next slide. And this is a video of one of our accommodations. Oh, it appears we're having problems with the sound.
Can we move on to the next slide? There's an issue with the volume on this one, so we'll just move on to the next one. And if Dan can work his magic, he'll be able to send it out afterwards so everyone can listen to it.
Okay, so when you receive your offer, as Coral said, you will receive information about your accommodation. So this can either be checked and chosen by Norland, and this then has the security of including a bed, desk, drawers, and a wardrobe. Alternatively, you can choose your own accommodation. You know, as this is done independently, there's no guarantee of what the property will come with. So it's definitely about weighing up what works for you and your financial circumstance. So second and third year accommodation, that's found individually with your housemates. So in my case, I've really been lucky that I've stayed with the same landlord since first year. Quite often, if you've been placed in your accommodation through the Norland provided one, you have that point of contact with that landlord. So when it's coming up to obviously moving out for second year, needing to find a property, you can message them and they will more than likely have properties, or if they don't have properties, they can signpost you to another landlord who might. And yeah, again, if that path isn't chosen and you go with a completely different landlord, you obviously do need to make sure that you're checking what comes with this property so that you can arrange for this. So my top tips, I personally, and this is completely individual for everyone, I would personally utilise the Norland provided accommodation because you immediately are placed with people you have a common ground with. So it's great for that settling in period. It's a really daunting time when you're moving to a new place potentially, and you're with these strangers and you're living, you know, maybe some of you guys, it will be the first time that you've lived away from home. So it's really nice when you share your home with someone that you instantly have that one common ground with, this one bonding feature. Yeah, I think there's something nice, and especially I know for my sake on my first year, you know, when you're like, you've got assignments and you know you're working and everything, you've got people that understand, and yeah, there's something really special about that. It just adds to the further family feel of Norland. Watch the Norland provided videos of the recommended packing list. Quite often I think it's easy to just get carried away, I certainly did, of what to pack because you just don't know, and it often means that a lot of the time you just have stuff that you don't use, so really be mindful about what you pack. I would recommend a extension lead 100% because you never know where your plugs are going to be placed. If you're in your second and third year choosing accommodation without going through the previous landlord, just consider where you're living in relation to both campuses. You don't really want to be like having this whole crazy travel journey that isn't always reliable, because obviously you want to get to your lectures and your practical sessions. So yeah, just make sure that it is, or you're by a bus stop or it's walking distance. And I would say, from my personal experience, have a rough idea of who you would want to live with by your first Christmas at Norland. Bath is a university city. There's lots of students looking for properties, and it can get quite stressful when you're not sure who you're living with and these properties are going. So yeah, but as always, you can always contact Coral or anyone at Norland, and they will signpost you or be of support to you. So I'm now going to pass over to Roxanne.
Hello. So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I found Norland and how accommodation worked out for me. So I went ahead, after I was accepted into Norland, I went ahead and applied for the Emily Ward bursary. They'll discuss a lot more in detail what it's like. And I went ahead and wrote a letter. So I spent a lot of time writing that. I think I spent about 2 months. So they give you a good amount of time for you to apply for this and really spend time thinking about what you want to say and why you think you should get the scholarship. Another way I fund Norland is through Norland Job Shop. So they offer a wide variety of jobs. So that could be over different holidays, for example, Christmas or Thanksgiving. And of course, the summertime, you'll see lengthier jobs then. So all over, for example, I have an American visa. I obviously couldn't work in England, so I went ahead and applied for the jobs in America, which worked out. I was working in New York, for example, over the summertime. So that was through the Norland Job Shop. And they're very supportive and can help you if you have questions or you think, you know what, I want to try finding a job specifically in California. They could find a list, for example, if they're working with some people there, and help you in that way. So it's available for everyone, also international students. I also applied for Holiday Hands. So that's another agency where they offer jobs in different places as well during the holidays. So that's another opportunity. They're usually shorter jobs. So like 5 days, for example, and that can fall between your holidays as well. And as Anwen was talking about our first year accommodation, I went ahead and went through with Norland. So I filled out this form saying that I would like to be with people who are around my age and a more quieter environment. So I actually ended up with some of my greatest friends. I arrived at, I think it was 2 in the morning. It was a very long journey. And I remember hobbling over with my luggage and being kind of like shaking a bit. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what my roommates are going to be like. And they just welcomed me with open arms and gave me a nice squeeze. And we were already laughing within 2 seconds. So I ended up staying with them for my second year. So we went searching for a house and we, found a place together.
And it's back to me. So I get the fun job of telling you how much it costs to come to Norland. We are a private independent provider, and that means we don't receive any additional funding from the government in the same way that other universities do. So before I go through these numbers, I just want to make a couple of points. We are more expensive than coming to a standard university. And the reason we're more expensive is because we have 2 courses that you study and not just one. So you study for your degree and you also study for your Norland diploma. And so you're paying for 2 courses and not just one. I also want to make the point that Norland is owned by a charity. So none of your fees go to any fat cat shareholders to fund a lavish lifestyle or anything like that. Everything that you spend on your fees gets spent on you as students at Norland. It is an expensive course because you have wonderful opportunities, you have small classes, and as I said, you have these 2 two courses that you're studying. So as you can see here, we've got two sets of figures here, one for international students and one for home-based students, and the international student fees are the ones in the brackets. Okay, so if you are a UK national student, then your first year fees will total £17,023. If you are an international student, your first year's fees will total £19,680. In addition to that, there is a lifelong support fee that is paid, and that goes towards, as the title suggests, support for you throughout the rest of your career. We are always here for you to answer questions, give you some more training if necessary, and help you along your way and within your career. So that is £341. And so in the far right hand column there, you can see that in total, your first year fees will be £17,364 if you are a UK based student, and £20,021 if you are an international student. Now you pay those fees, we invoice them in 3 equal amounts throughout the year. So you can pay them like that. If you want to pay them all up front, you can. If you want to pay them, we have a direct debit scheme. So if you want to pay them by direct debit and spread the payment out over, I think it's 9 or 10 months, then you can do that as well. It's also worth noting that the tuition fees do go up each year, generally. There have been some years where they don't go up, but really we are in a world with inflation that goes up, and therefore everything that we provide costs more every year. And so what we do guarantee though is that we will put fees up by less than 5% each year, or the consumer price index if that is higher each year. But we certainly aren't aiming to make lots of money based on your fees. As I said, everything that we get in gets spent on you and the courses that we provide you. And remember, there's no tuition fees in your newly qualified nanny year, because you'll be in paid employment. And just to put that all into context a little bit, if you come to the open day, you'll hear more about this. But in that newly qualified nanny year, you're probably going to be earning, well, this year's NQNs, because of course it will be different by the time you get there. This year's NQNs are earning on average around £30,000 to £35,000, and those are live-in positions. So they're not paying rent or bills or buying their own food. That is money in their pocket. Once you qualify as a Norland nanny after that NQN year, the average starting salary is around £47,000 a year. And that goes right up. You know, the more experience you get after a couple of years, you'll probably be earning 60, 65,000. And we do have jobs in our agency that are on for more than £100,000. Now you'll be working hard for all of that, but it just puts into context that if you can find the investment up front for the fees, you do get that return on your investment once you start earning money as a Norland nanny. There are some additional costs, as you can see there. So the uniform costs around £1,000, and that will see you through for the whole of the 3 years. Your accommodation, as you've already heard, is up to around £1,000 a month. Bath, unfortunately, is a very expensive city to live in, and you have to pay bills on top of that. You'll also automatically become a member as a student of the Professional Association of Norlanders. That is free while you are a student in NQN. Once you qualify, you pay £100 a year to be a member of your professional association, and you get various benefits for being that member. You can get some student fees if you are a UK student. You can get a student loan to help with your fees, but unfortunately you can't get the same as other students get at a normal university. At other universities, fees are about £9,250 a year, and your loan is the same as that amount, £9,250 a year. If you come to one of the small specialist institutions like Norland, our fee, the loan that you can get to go towards your fees is only £6,165 a year, and that's lower in Northern Ireland too. Okay, and that's because we're not a public university, and it's the way that we're categorised by the government. We're categorised as a non-fee cap provider, which means they will give you a lower student loan. So that obviously means that there is a significant amount of money that you do need to find in order to pay your fees, and that's outlined there in the table on the left. It tells you what the termly fees are that you have to find. So in total, you have to find, on top of your student loan, £11,199 for the fees. On top of that, you obviously have your living expenses. Now, your student maintenance loan is not capped by the government, so you will get exactly the same as you would get at any other university. And there are that is also there is a calculator on the website that you can go on to on the government website, the student loan website, that will tell you what that will be, what that figure will be. There's an element of it that can be means tested, so you have to put your details in and it will tell you what that will be. It's unlikely though to even be enough to cover your rent. So it's important that you understand that it's not cheap to come to Norland. Not on top of that £11,199, you will also probably have to find additional money to help with your living expenses. You can apply for these student loans from February 2025. Unfortunately, international students do not have any access to UK student financing, so your fees have to be completely covered by your own means. Anyway, enough of that, I think, don't you? We can offer bursaries. So you'll remember that I said that all of your fees get spent on you and your course, and that is true. The funding for bursary comes from our commercial activities. So we run some consultancy for companies all over the world. We have our own employment agency where families pay a fee for us to place a Norland nanny with them. And all of that income goes towards bursaries. So we have various different bursaries. They are quite limited though. We do have some £10,000 bursaries and we do have some £5,000 bursaries. They are all means tested, and on our website you'll find a list of the conditions for you for applying for those bursaries. We also have some smaller bursaries as well. There is huge competition for these bursaries. This is a very important message for you, that you must make sure you've got a plan B. Don't rely on the fact that a bursary is going to cover your fees and provide for your living expenses, because it won't. And even if you're awarded the highest bursary, it's unlikely that it will cover your costs entirely. We wish things were different. We wish you could have a higher student loan, but unfortunately, this is the world we live in at the moment. So you'll see there some of the information there about the Emily Ward bursary. Emily Ward was our founder, and that's why we call it the Emily Ward bursary. And you will automatically be sent all the application forms when we make you an offer, so you don't have to ask for those. And you'll see there are the deadlines, which we'll also inform you of when we send you all the paperwork. Right, I think I'm handing back to Anwen now to tell you a little bit more about how she funded her own studies.
Oh, thank you, Mandy. So I'm aware the tuition fees are really daunting. It was for me as well when I saw them. I hadn't heard about Norland before. I'm from a very small village in Wales, so this was like a crazy thing. So I'm not going to say about the bursary because we just heard from Mandy. However, I do want to share that Norland gives so many opportunities for us to make money. They're completely aware of the financial circumstances that some of our students are in. So they will offer roles in the nursery, in the library, becoming a student ambassador, becoming part of the SSLC team. And these are all things that can be done alongside your studies. So often the library will be after the university day. Obviously you have the student finance loan, so this can be varied and it is capped, as Mandy has told us. But there's also a Marvellous and Norland job shop. So Marvellous has been created and it's essentially an app tailored to Norland students for babysitting opportunities. So parents can request you if they've had you, but also a lot of the time, every placement family I've had, I've since then done babysitting for them, and one of them I'm actually now qualified. What's the word? When you employed. Sorry everyone. I'm now employed by them, which is just beautiful. So there's so many opportunities to make money. You also don't have to go down the childcare route with your work, and you can get a waitressing job or bar or anything like that, but it is really important to remember you're doing a degree, you're doing a diploma, so please don't burn yourself out. Remember to make priority for everything. But yeah, that's everything, and you can always contact the finance team.
Hello, thank you, Anwen. My name is Claire Hutton. I'm the Student Records Data and Visa Manager at Norland. So I'm going to give you lots of very interesting information about visa regulations, so enjoy. So just a bit about me. Prior to joining Norland, I worked at an English language school where I was the registrar. So I oversaw all the enrolments, and I was also responsible for their student visa license, which is something I now do for Norland, which I'll talk about a little bit more shortly. Next slide, please. So just some background information about our international student journey at Norland. So basically, when Brexit happened, the rules for studying in the UK changed quite dramatically. From that point onward, if you wanted to come into the UK from outside the UK to study, you would now need a visa to do so. So the type of course we run at Norland means that you specifically have to have a student visa. And you can only get a student visa if you apply to an institution that has a student visa sponsor license. Now, Norland, we were granted our license in April 2021. So the great news is that we can now recruit students from all over the world, which is wonderful. And it's the first time in Norland's history that we've been able to do this. So it's very exciting. So part of my role at Norland is making sure we keep that license active, which is very important, by obeying the rules of UK visas and immigration and upholding our duties as sponsors so that we can keep recruiting international students. But most importantly, I'm here to help our visa students because we do appreciate you'll have a lot of extra paperwork to do and responsibilities to keep. So that's why I'm here to support you with that process. Next slide, please. So just some key facts to bear in mind if you are someone who would need a visa to join us at Norland. Now, the first and most important thing is that you need to make sure that Norland is right for you, and we need to make sure that you're right for Norland. So our wonderful admissions team are going to be your first port of call. If you don't have UK qualifications, it's not a problem. As we mentioned briefly earlier, if you are not sure if your qualifications are the right fit, email our admissions team and they can give you further advice about this. So one extra qualification you will need if English is not your first language is a CELT. Now that stands for a Secure English Language Test. The type of test that we accept at Norland is the IELTS for UKVI academic. But of course, if you do get to the stage where you are preparing an application for Norland and you'll need a visa to join us, I will be in touch with you to make sure you have the correct test if this is something you require. Now, for your NQN year, which we talked about earlier, where you'll be working, you will need a different visa. So your student visa will cover you during your 3 years studying the BA and the diploma, but when you're working in your NQN year, you will need to apply for a graduate visa. Now, this visa allows you to live and work in the UK for 2 years, but of course it does mean that you will have to do another visa application, I'm afraid. However, you will be here at Norland during this application process, and I will be here to help you with this. So you don't need to worry about this quite yet, but again, it is something really important you need to bear in mind. Next slide, please. Now, as you may have gleaned from the big bold red writing on the slide, this is where it gets temporarily a little bit complicated, so do bear with me. Now, earlier I mentioned that we are still a relatively new visa sponsor, as we were only granted our license in April 2021. And as a new sponsor, this means that we are sort of under probation with UK visas and immigration. So they need to make sure that we're being responsible sponsors, which of course we are. And if we pass this probation period, which is for 4 years, we'll be granted our full license. So we are on track to achieve this by April 2025. But until we're granted this full license, there are currently some restrictions to student visa holder activity, as Roxanne briefly mentioned earlier with regards to working. So now hopefully none of these restrictions will apply to you, as we should have our full license by then. But as these are the current rules that we are subject to, I need to make you aware of them and be sure that we're sharing the current information, just again to make sure we're sticking to those very important rules that UK visas and immigration require us to do. So as you can see, there are currently restrictions on working in the UK for student visa holders and in the amount of time that's permitted to be spent in a work placement setting. again, we are on track to have our full license granted by September 2025. So in theory, that means if you come then and we have our full license, these restrictions will not apply to you. So from September 2025, student visa holders will be able to work in the UK during term time up to 20 hours per week. And these are unrestricted hours in vacation time. And you'll be able to spend as much time in a placement setting as a non-visa student, a non-visa Norland student, which is up to around 40% of your time that will be permitted. So again, I'm very sorry if this is a little bit confusing, but we are kind of in that in-between rules phase. So currently the rules are the restrictions, but hopefully by the time you come from September 2025 onwards, these rules will not be in place. But again, if you have any questions about this, because I fully understand it's a bit confusing, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to help. Another thing to bear in mind is there are also, unfortunately, additional costs you'll need to prepare for, including the visa application fee, which you can see there, and also the immigration health surcharge. Now, this allows you to use the NHS, the National Health Service in the UK, as a UK resident would. So it's the same way I can, which I think does represent quite good value for money. It's currently £776 per year, and you'd have to pay that upfront for each year as part of your visa application that you're going to be with us, so for those 3 years. Now, when you come to your NQN year and you need to apply for your graduate visa, there will also be a cost for this, which you can see, plus the immigration health surcharge fee again, which actually you can also see goes up quite considerably for the graduate visa, unfortunately. But you will be working during this time, so hopefully the financial burden will be a little bit easier to bear. I've also just included at the bottom of this slide here some useful and verified student visa information sources. But if you do have any further questions at all, please do come and ask me. I'm your first port of call, but these resources are also very helpful too. So I think that's it from me for now. So I'm going to hand over to one of our wonderful visa students, Roxanne.
Thanks, Claire. All right, so hopefully once y'all have made it over to Norland, here's some tips. So as Claire has just went through all the visa information, she is the perfect person if you're an international student, for example, and you're like, I don't know what's going on, how do I do this? Norland is so supportive. If you call them, they're very quick to answer emails. So anytime, when in doubt, just contact them and they will always be there. Also, when you get here, they are massively supportive. If you're struggling, for example, mentally, you're like, there's a lot coming up and I'm struggling, they're always here to support you. If you, for example, need help with assignments, they're also there. So anytime you're struggling, always know that Norland will have your back. And it's been a great time for me to just adjust myself, for example. So also I'm a little bit of an older student, and I just wanted to mention there's always a place for everyone at Norland. It doesn't matter what your background is, how old you are, where you come from, there's always a place. There's amazing people here. You'll be surprised how quickly you will make so many different friends and get used to the lovely environment. I noticed now that it's my second year, I thought about some things I want to achieve this year. And I told myself I really, really want to be present because it can be a lot when you first move, for example, and maybe you've never lived with other people before. Maybe you've never lived without your parents or you're coming from another country. It can be very stressful, or you might just need more time to get used to things. But this time around, I thought, you know what? There's so many amazing places to discover, amazing people to meet. So just try to really be in the moment, and Bath is a beautiful place. So there's always something to get into. So those are my top tips.
Okay, so now just talking a bit about your application and what we're looking for. So the entry requirements that we require are a minimum of 96 UCAS points from a level 3 qualification. As was mentioned earlier, if you're unsure how many points your qualification gets, you can log on to the UCAS website and use their tariff calculator, and it will show you, based on your predicted grades, how much each qualification is worth. You can also email us and we're happy to help you if you have any queries with that. We need a minimum of 5 GCSEs, which should include English and maths at grade 4 or above. And as Claire mentioned, if English is an additional language, then you will need to do some form of SELT test, but we can help you with that. So all applications are made via UCAS, and there is a link on our website which will take you straight to that page. You'll need to put in our institution code and course code that you can see on the screen. If you want to send us an additional personal statement that is tailored to Norland, why you want to come, then you can send that to us at admissions@norland.ac.uk. You might not need an additional one. It might all be covered in the one on your UCAS application. But if you're applying to multiple institutions, then you might want to send an additional one to us. Everything is updated via UCAS, so you can log onto your account and track everything. You'll be invited to interviews. That's also where offers will be made. And we'll also follow up with emails with more information. As I've said before, please do get in contact if you have any queries, and we very much look forward to receiving your applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. So back to me. I'm going to go through this quite quickly because I know that we really want to get to your questions. But it's really important for us to say a couple of things. First of all, you may well be sitting there and thinking, oh my goodness, I'm never going to afford to go to Norland. I'm never going to be good enough to go to Norland. They have had such high standards. We do have very high standards. But let me just reassure you that every single family that our graduates go on to work with is different. Every single child that our graduates go on to work with is different. And therefore, every single student that comes through our door, we need them to be different too. We need them to have different life experiences, different attitudes, different backgrounds, different cultures. So please don't have the imposter syndrome, okay? This is achievable for you. If you work hard at school, get your grades, have the right attitude, and are prepared to work hard, because it is tough being a Norland student. You are studying for 2 courses. You are probably working to supplement your fee loans and your maintenance loan. It is hard work. You're living away from home. There's lots of things going on. But to work with young children and to be the very best, you have to be physically and mentally strong. And so we spend these 3 years that you're with us developing your independence and your resilience. But you need to have some of that when you arrive too. Okay, so make sure that you'll spend this time before you actually come to Norland, or any institution actually, really thinking about how can I develop my resilience. And by resilience, we mean that bounce back ability, that ability to take feedback, learn from it and move on. How can I develop my resilience, and how can I develop my independence? Those are 2 key, really key aspects that we'll be looking for when we interview you, and we'll be certainly developing and expecting from you when you come to Norland. There is, of course, the Equality Act, and we, of course, will make as much reasonable adjustments as we can for anybody that needs them throughout their time with Norland. Disability doesn't mean that you can't come to Norland. However, we do have to be realistic about what it takes to work with young children and their families as a Norland nanny. And so we don't want to bring you into Norland and take your fees for 3 years and then say to you at the end of those 3 years, well, I hope you like your degree, but actually, you know, we don't know if anyone's actually going to employ you. Because at the end of the day, families will make the decisions about who they employ. We can't make those decisions. So it's really important that you come in with the right attitude, and you work hard to develop that independence and that resilience, so that when you do go out for jobs, then you are showing the families exactly what they need to see in order to employ you. And we'll work with you on that. But you, as I say, you have to come in with that ability to learn, to develop, to be able to take feedback, and to operate under the Norland Code of Professional Responsibilities. And we'll tell you more about that. We'll talk more about all of that at Open Day as well. So we hope that you will see you then. I think I'm handing over to Kate.
You are indeed. Thank you very much, Mandy. huge amount of information there. It's so lovely to hear from the students as well, which is fantastic. So we have got a few questions. If you are still wanting some more information, you want to ask a question, just pop it into the box. We've got a little bit of time for those now, so I'm going to start with the process, if that's okay. Anwen, you mentioned about the SSLC, and we have had a question. Can you tell us what the SSLC actually is, please?
Yeah, so it's a group of students based from academic reps, placement reps, deputy head boy, head girl, and head boy, head girl, and it's run every year for the year. And that position then is carried out for that year, and each new ones are started that next year. So it's just a way of becoming a rep for something. So that first point of contact for the students to then work with the staff to help everyone overall. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've got a question for Hannah. Now, we've obviously touched on the interview process, and we have had questions about, could you possibly take us through the actual interview process, what's involved, and probably for people that have applied and they're waiting to come for interview, just to kind of go from when they've received their interview offer, and what the actual process is. That would be really, really helpful, I think.
So we hold interviews from October to March. They're normally on a Friday, but if there's any problems, contact us. The interview process is coming to Bath, to the college, and having a face-to-face interview and also doing a group task. It's nothing to worry about when we say group task. It's very relaxed. Everybody's really supportive. And it's really just the opportunity for you to come to Norland and show us your passion and enthusiasm for wanting to study here and wanting to work with children. We will invite you to interview on UCAS, and we will send you details for the interview about 2 weeks before. If you're an overseas applicant, then we can offer you a virtual interview, which will follow sort of the same structure. But if you're ever worried about anything, you can email us and we can go through it all in further detail.
Lovely, thank you very much. I have a question from Mandy, actually. This is about, someone just mentioned about the fact that they didn't know we had 2 campuses. Could you just elaborate on that for us, please?
Yes, certainly. So the main campus for students is the Oldfield Park campus. So that's our new, shiny, bright one, which we've spent a lot of money refurbishing. So we do love that campus. We do have another one, which is probably about 1.5 miles away, maybe, I would say. Probably about a 45-minute walk away if you're walking there. That's mainly used for our kind of backroom staff, if you like. So our HR and our Norland agency, our employment agency is over there. So various different departments over there, but it does have a really lovely big space, which we do sometimes use for extra activities for students like self-defense or first aid, or some other external speakers might come over there. So there may be occasions where you do go over to York Place too. And as I said, it is a bit of a walk, but we try to set the timetable up so that you are based in one place or the other, and you don't have to do too much moving between the 2 sites on the same day.
Lovely, thank you very much. I'm at York Place at the moment, so yes, very nice. We've got a question about, this is for Coral actually, it's about second year accommodation. Do second years ever stay in their first year accommodation? Is that an option for students?
It's not an option, no. So our first year accommodation, we work with those landlords year in, year out, because we've got that working relationship with them. So in the second year, you will be looking for your own accommodation and own landlords, but it is worth speaking with your landlord because they may own other properties that they are renting out. So yeah, you can always ask them.
Great, thank you. We've had quite a lot of questions come through about personal statements, because obviously that's quite a key thing. So what do you need to add into your personal statement? I think I'm gonna ask Eve about this, and also Hannah as well, about how to obviously send an additional personal statement. Obviously on UCAS you can only have the main statement, so it's just how students are able to send that through. Eve, can you give some top tips about a personal statement and what to write?
Yes, absolutely. So I think obviously it's a little while since I did mine now, because I'm in third year. But I would say for personal statement, you want I think the key word is personal. It's a personal statement. So there's absolutely no point going and reading a bunch online and sort of inputting your own details into that. Norland want to hear about you. They want to know you and what you've done, what your dreams are, what attributes you have that are helpful. So for example, I used to do cadets, so I had leadership skills from cadets, so I'd put in an example about that. I'd worked with lots of different families before, so talking about how I'd worked with different parents in different family situations, but anything that you think might be relevant, and also things that you don't think are. So any experience working with children or working with the public, I would say, are really helpful.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Mandy, how many applications, we always get this question, how many applications do you get each year? How many places do you offer for each year?
Okay, so it's a bit of a moving feast, but I'll give you an example from last year. Well, generally we offer 100 places. We will often go up to 104 places. Last year we had 212 applications for those places. Now we did take in a larger intake last year as well, but generally I would say the applications, they have been rising each year, but I would say the last couple of years they've been between 180 and about 212 each year for around 100 places.
Great, thank you very much. We've got a lot of questions about what a typical student day looks like. Now, I'm going to kind of push you towards a session that we're going to be doing all about student life and what you'll be studying and how that whole process works, rather than this session. So I will respond to those people that have asked that question. We do have a question about driving license, which I think is quite important. Is a driving license for the defensive driving provided to students, or is those that only pass their driving test? So how important is the defensive driving, having a license to be able to do that?
So shall I answer that, Kate?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mandy.
Yes, you do need a driving license to do the defensive driving. If you don't have a driving license, then that's absolutely fine. You can still go along to Castle Combe and you can do the theory part of the session, but you won't be one of the students on the BBC News screaming as you drive around Castle Combe racetrack. It's not, I mean, I may as well just say this as well. It's not mandatory to have a driving license to be a Norland nanny. In fact, in London, probably you use public transport. It's hard to get around. It's quicker to use public transport, but it is an asset to have a driving license. So it might be something that you want to think about getting, as you're studying.
Great. I've had a question. This is for the students, actually. So I've got, what was your favourite thing you've learnt at Norland so far? I think that's quite a relevant question. So fire away, guys.
Who's going first?
You go.
Okay. Mine would be that real emphasis on every child, every situation, every family is different. I know it's easy to say, and it's maybe easier to hear it, but when you're in there, you actually, so many placements we have, and every single one is so unbelievably different, even if the children are the same age. There's not one circumstance, and that's what's really great about Norland, is that they teach you so many ways you can tailor your practice to best fit the family and the style that they would like. So yeah, just that everything is unique and you don't get the same experience twice.
I think I would agree with Anwen on that one, definitely, and even go on to say, like, meeting the different families is definitely my favorite thing. I mean, we've had our residential, I was in London for 6 weeks. I've been in Frome with a family, and they're all totally different. They could on paper look very, very similar. Mine too were, but they honestly could not be more different. And just learning those little quirks about children that really make them individual.
I would definitely say mine would be the wide variety of topics. So I didn't expect to learn so many amazing things, from the baby brain and understanding how it works, how it develops, to equality and equity. There's just so much to learn at Norland that I didn't even know these topics existed. So you just get a lot of information that you wouldn't get elsewhere. I think that's been my favorite part.
Can I just also
Lovely.
add, Kate, that
Yes.
a student a couple of years ago said, nowhere else would you be learning about neuroscience and babies' brains in the morning, gutting a fish after lunch, and then sewing a cape in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So that gives you an example of the variety of things that you'll learn at Norland.
Brilliant. Thank you. I've got a question for Claire. This is from an international student. I'm currently 17, but when I was checking information for my student visa application, it said I had to be 18 and that process potentially could take up to 6 months. I don't turn 18 until July. Is there anything I can do?
You don't have to be 18 to apply for a student visa. Obviously, you have to be 18 to come to Norland for your first day, and but no, you can, as long as you demonstrate parental support. So you might need a letter from your parents whilst you put in the application confirming they're happy with you applying, they support your application. No, you can do it from 16 onwards. There is a child student visa, so I see how you're getting confused there, but that's for under 16s. 16 and over, you can apply for the student visa. That's fine. It depends on the country you're applying from, how long the visa process can take. Sometimes it's 3 weeks, sometimes it's a couple of months. So as long as you've got all your other paperwork together and you've been offered a place, it won't slow your application down that you're not 18 yet. You just need an additional document perhaps, but I can help with that.
Lovely. Thank you very much. I've got a question about submitting an application to when they're here about an interview. Hannah, would you be able just to reiterate that for us, please?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we review applications when they come in. If you haven't heard straight away, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get an interview. Obviously, we might get an influx of applications and it just take a little bit of time for us to go through. So you might hear immediately, it might take a couple of weeks. But the equal opportunity deadline isn't until the end of January. So you will be considered the same, whether you have an interview straight away or you don't get an interview until December. So please don't worry. We will let you know and try and give you as much notice as possible.
Can I just add as well there, that just to make it really clear, the equal consideration deadline in January is for your application, not your interview. So even if you apply in January before the deadline and your interview isn't until March, we still, by UCAS rules, we still have to have places available for you and give you equal consideration as somebody who applies early on in the process. We obviously encourage you to apply as early as possible because that helps you know what's going on and it helps us as well. But as Hannah said, as long as you applied before the equal consideration deadline in January, you have as much chance as anyone else of getting into Norland.
Lovely, thank you very much. And we are really rapidly running out of time. In fact, we've gone over slightly, but I've got one last question. And Mandy, you're more than welcome to answer this. If I didn't get into Norland on my first application, can I try again the following year?
100%. That shows us perseverance and commitment and determination, all the things that we look for in our students. So yes, we would welcome an application from you again.
Lovely. That really is all the time we've got for questions. Those who've asked questions, please do check on our FAQs and I will try to respond to those after the session as well. So just to keep an eye on your email. So if I could have the final slide, please, Mandy, if that's okay. But don't worry, is that okay? Brilliant, lovely. It's just really just give you an idea of what's coming up. We've got a really busy couple of weeks actually. As Mandy said, there's lots more information available online, but also one of the best ways to find out about Norland is to come to the open day. Can't stress that enough. Coming on campus because we are so different than other higher education providers. We're not massive and you need to come along and really see it for yourself, see it in all its glory, and you get the opportunity to speak to staff and students, and it really is the best way to find out about us. We appreciate it can be difficult for people, so there's lots of other virtual sessions online. We're also going to have a virtual open event on the 20th of November, so the Saturday the 12th of October. We've still got spaces available on the morning and afternoon slot, so do, you know, even if it just sparked your interest and you want to find out more, I do highly recommend coming along. As with our Unwrapped series, we've got quite a packed schedule coming up as well. So the next session we're going to have is going to be really exciting. It's a degree taster session. It's going to be interactive with one of our academic team, and it's going to be based all about equality and diversity. So that's going to be a really, really interesting session. And as I mentioned earlier on, What Will I Study is going to be a session in February. That's going to be all about a typical day, how students are assessed, really kind of drilling down into the modules and what you're going to be studying. So if that's one of the questions that you've asked this evening, I do recommend joining us for that, because it's going to go into quite a lot of depth about that via the Unwrapped session. So please do book online. Do follow us on social media. There is lots and lots always happening at Norland. Do sign up to our mailing list, because that gives you the most up-to-date information. You'll find out all those really key important dates, etc., about the equal consideration deadline, bursary deadlines, everything you need to know, really. That's it, really. I want to say a huge thank you to all the members of staff, and especially our 3 wonderful students who've taken time out of their very, very, very busy schedules and taken part. And it's really lovely for them to kind of, you know, pass on their wisdom and their top tips and that really important information. Like I said, and I say this every single Unwrap session, there is no such thing as a silly question. So you're more than welcome to obviously contact us. You can contact us via admissions, inquiries. We've got obviously our ambassador live chat platform as well. Our students are always there willing to listen and to answer your questions. So it just takes me to say thank you. Really appreciate your time this evening. Have a lovely rest of your evening, and we'll see you at the next Unwrapped. So thank you very much. Bye bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.